I mean, I always tell people, take action, but you don't need to have like every process written out. You don't have to have a huge roadmap. Most of the time when I made decisions and did well on those decisions, I maybe knew 60% of the roadmap.
Less.
Yeah, probably much really true. Probably 20% to be honest.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pay It Forward podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Keegan Walls, with my handy-dandy partner, Austin Seward. And before we begin, we just want to do a special thank you, a quick little shout-out to the sponsor of the Pay It Forward podcast, Dahl Automotive. We appreciate you guys and what you do for us and allowing us to continue these conversations. And so we also want to just do a quick little plug here. If you have been watching and following the podcast, if you've been enjoying the content we're putting out, would you consider partnering with us and supporting the Pay It Forward podcast? We love bringing you the stories that we bring, but like anything, it takes a lot of time and money. And so for us to continue doing this, we do need and are asking for your help and your support. So if you would think about it, we will attach a link below, and we would love to have you, whether you're an individual or a business, partner with us and continue pushing the mission forward of the Pay It Forward podcast. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Okay, let's get into today's episode. Today, we have the pleasure of sitting down with Ryan and Eva Gray. They are serial real estate entrepreneur rock stars. They really are. They came down here from Eau Claire. So they are the owners of Stable Living, Graham Property Management, 715 Homebuyers, and Graham Tax and Accounting Services. So all things real estate, have bought a bunch of rentals, do a bunch of flips, tax and accounting, property management. So this is more up my alley than everybody else. So thank you guys for making the trip down here today. Inspired by both of you and what you're doing. So thanks for coming to talk with us.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. What an intro. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Tell us a little bit more. So, I mean, there's 4 different businesses here. Just kind of give our listeners an overview of what you guys do.
Yeah, I can start. So I started an assisted living company in 2017, which is called Stable Living. Basically, this is a company based out of Eau Claire now. We have about 100 employees. We have 14 group homes and then do in-home care for around 100 clients throughout Eau Claire. Started that off with Sean Tudor in college. Also do rentals, the Graham Property Management, which we internally manage around 600 units, have a few partners, as well as we buy and flip homes with a new business called 715 Homebuyers. And then Eva does all my taxes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have Graham Tax and Accounting Services. We focus on real estate and real estate adjacent businesses. We actually have downsized our external customers because of the growth we have internally, and just focusing on keeping everything up to date and have real-time numbers for all of the different projects we have going on.
Yeah, she's my glue. Keeps it all.
I say I'm the chaos controller.
That's right. I'm just going to preface this by saying, so I'm looking into property management. Has texted Ryan a couple questions this week, and his reply to both of them was, I have no idea. Let me ask Eva. So we all know who the brains behind the operation is.
That's true. That's true.
I just need to get Eva's phone number to text her directly.
I give it to you.
So, okay, so 600 some units in how many years?
So we started in real estate. Well, we bought our first house. We've never rented an apartment, but we started rentals like 2019.
So 6 years.
6 years, 600 years. That was insane.
We bought our first home in 2014. So we're from Eau Claire. Eau Claire was a very big college town for rentals, and we got back from basic training, and we kept trying to find apartments, and nothing was really open, and we're 18, 19-year-old kids that had no rental history, so no one wanted to rent from us.
Yeah.
So I worked at a credit union at the time and went on Zillow and looked at all the cheap houses, looked at 5 houses. One was like $65,000, bought it, lived in it 4 or 5 years, and then the year we got married, we decided, let's buy a house the year we get married, and we turned our first house into a rental, and it's still in our portfolio.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was the first rental.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan, tell us about Stable Living. That was kind of your business before
Yep.
real estate, correct? So how do you get into something like that?
Oh, yeah. So I was in college and I had a drill sergeant that I worked for that actually owned a few group homes, and then basically had a terrible experience, bad boss, quit the position with Sean. We both were actually doing overnights, back-to-back shifts for about a year. And kind of walked out of the situation like, if this guy can do it, anybody can do it. Which we never really thought about it until we kind of got fired, but that's kind of what kicked it off. I would say at the time we were kind of thinking about the clients, like where are these clients going to go? Like the situation's so poor, and that's kind of how we started. And then we actually sat in a college library for about 9 months researching it, basically like getting credentials, doing trainings, kind of prepping for it. And then we actually turned his college home into a group home at like 21 years old. So that's kind of how it started. And then basically ever since then, we just started opening one every year until now we have 14. So that's kind of how it started. I would say we were a little in over our head and ambitious and just kind of went for it, to be honest. And we learned a lot on the way, had a bunch of mentors that kind of helped us through it too. So, yeah.
Tell us more about like the clients you guys serve. I think I love seeing your Facebook posts and stuff on it. It's not only a business for you guys, but I mean, you're truly impacting people's lives in what you're doing. So tell us about the people that you serve.
Yeah, so we take care of all types of clients. We have developmentally disabled clients, behavioral clients, correctional clients. We don't have any physically disabled or elderly right now. That's kind of something we want to go into. But for the most part, DD and then the correctional. With the military-ish background, we kind of went into like the more difficult clients, and we're kind of the button to press when they had a hard client for a while. Now we're trying to grow and kind of do everything. But yeah, so that's the clients we take care of right now. So all the group homes, they're basically like a home, any home, to be honest. There's probably a million of them in La Crosse that you don't even know about. They're mostly just ranches, 4 bedrooms. So there's 4 clients in the home and then 1 staff that works around the clock in that home. So yeah, small facilities. Yeah. So.
And each individual one is kind of operated independently, or are they all?
Yeah, they're all independent. Yeah, like so we have 1 staff that works in there 24/7, and then we have a management team that kind of goes around and helps make sure they're, in compliance. But like, there's mom and pop homes that only own 1 home, and there's actually companies probably own a few hundred, I would say. So yeah, all kinds of, and then I guess there are bigger ones. We kind of want to get into that 8 to 16 beds in the future, but you need more credentials, as well as kind of just learning it because I haven't done it. So yeah.
So similar to like a nursing home or assisted living, that's like a bigger multifamily type property.
Yeah.
You guys are doing that, but at the single family level.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yeah, basically the same thing. Honestly, very close to a nursing home. The only difference is kind of the pay source. Nursing homes are usually private pay, or I believe Medicare, versus ours is Medicaid. I don't know for sure, but different pay sources. And anybody that's in our home usually has to be disabled. So that's the big thing. So.
Okay. Yeah. So what is you guys, you spent 9 months in the library figuring this out. Like what are the steps involved to do that? What licenses do you need? You're obviously kind of working hand in hand with the government.
Yep.
In a way. So.
Yeah. So, there is a license through the Department of Health. I'll be honest, the smaller the facility, the more easy it is to get a license. The big thing is, you go through a licensing process. The home has to hit a bunch of qualifications, and then the person that's running the home has to hit a bunch of qualifications. The big thing is they want to see is like experience doing this. You understand all like the state reporting and all the paperwork that's necessary to like run one. And then you do continuing training, which is honestly really simple. I kind of see in the future, especially with like all the Trump changes, that they're probably going to up the standard for a lot of it. But yeah, so they are all licensed through the Department of Health. Your background check has to be squeaky clean and perfect. But for the most part, to be honest, if you're a caregiver for a few years in a group home, you could start a group home, to be honest, as long as you're ready for it. Another big qualification is you just have to have financials or back and be able to afford to continue to run the home if you don't get paid for a long time. That's something they want to see. But yeah.
And were you renting the homes or buying the homes that?
I own a few of them now. I actually don't even own all of them. Okay. The first one, like I said, was Sean's college house, and that was owned by his mom, I believe. Okay. And I think he bought it now. And Then my uncle, who's a small landlord in Eau Claire, actually rented us our second group home. So a lot of them we rented. Yeah.
Cool. That's sweet. So, I mean, you kind of had the entrepreneurial bug. It wasn't necessarily that you were passionate about the group homes, more so as like you saw a need and you saw, hey, this is something that we could do. And did you always have the desire to be an entrepreneur?
Yes and no. I don't think we really ever like thought about it, but I actually was storing weight equipment in my garage at like 18 years old, like weightlifting equipment. And I was stacking it up and like picking up deals on the side of the road because I wanted to open a gym one day. And that was like my passion was gyms, and I still want to open one, but you only have so much time. So that's a fun project down the road. But I would say yes, but I knew I was going to go to a 9-to-5 probably for a while. That was the plan. And then this opportunity kind of jumped up. So
what about you, Eva?
I was always not always, but the plan was to be an accountant. I was actually a full-time accountant for like manufacturing firms up until I got pregnant with our daughter. So I was helping him on the side with some of the financials for the group home business because, like we had said, we didn't really start into real estate till 2019, and it didn't really start to exponentially increase until 2021, 2022 and on. So I was doing it on the side. But no, I was good being a corporate accountant. And then I got my CPA licensing in 2017 or 2018, the year after I graduated college. And I was studying for 20 hours a week. And my boyfriend at the time was like, hey, like you just finished studying for 20 hours a week. Why don't you like do this on the side, start building it? He was like a year and a half into owning the group homes. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why not? Didn't have kids, wasn't married at the time. So started on the side. Grew the tax business a decent amount, but was just managing to juggle it. And then we got pregnant in 2020, at the end of 2020 with our daughter, had her in 2021, and I knew I couldn't do full-time taxes, full-time job, and be any sort of decent mom that I wanted to be. So that was really like my tipping point, because otherwise I was good juggling it. I think we've always been people that like to be busy and have a lot going on. So I think without our daughter, I don't think I would have made the jump. So, but I always enjoyed it, and I liked having the dual, like two different roles going on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk rentals. What was the inspiration for starting to buy rentals?
I mean, I think I always had an interest in it, but to be honest, Whiskeria is kind of what started it. I would say we might have owned a group home at the time, but I heard about Whiskeria through Dan Gearseth in Eau Claire. And he invited me to Whiskeria, which is basically a investing group throughout Wisconsin and Eau Claire. I'm actually a host now, which I feel pretty proud about, to be honest. But I walked into that group in 2019. I loved it. I started actually kind of like doing exactly what they said. Like the day after the meeting, we started sending letters to off-market properties like immediately. And we started finding really good deals right away because I don't think anybody was doing it. So I would say Whiskeria is kind of what started it. And I don't know, that group, I pushed that group because it changed my life. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been to that group a couple times. I've been to your guys' events, and you definitely have something special in your area with that group. I don't think there's real estate groups in every community. We have one here, and I've been to others in Milwaukee area and stuff. But you guys have an awesome group there, and it's cool. A lot of those groups I see are a lot of newbies that want to buy their first deal, that like talking about real estate but never actually do anything. You guys have people like yourself that are doing stuff, that are sharing, and if people come to those and do what you're saying, they can do what you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And it sounds like that's what you did, is you took action on what somebody was saying. So tell us more about that, like about the importance of just like you literally just did what you were told, but nobody else was doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people, take action, but you don't need to have like every process written out. You don't have to have a huge roadmap. Most of the time when I made decisions and did well on those decisions, I maybe knew 60% of the roadmap.
Less.
Probably much, really true. Probably 20% to be honest. And then, I would say I was really like surrounding myself with good people. I think like Sean was kind of my glue as well. I think like I was kind of the risky guy, like, let's go do it right now. And Sean was like, okay, I'll figure all these things as you create fire all over and create opportunity. But I would say, like sending letters to properties, like anybody could do that instead of just scrolling on Zillow and waiting for something to come in your lap,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think take action is that's the biggest thing. You don't have to be a genius to get involved in real estate.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think too, something that you don't always see, but I think we just like trying to give ourselves challenges and like improve that not everyone had. I think my perspective of how everything got started in real estate too is like we were pretty financially smart. Like in college, and we were savers and we were interested in personal finance, whereas most college kids didn't care about how
Yeah. Went
finance
bought
was.
a new car as soon as they started making
Yeah.
$80,000 a year.
So I had a few like good college professors that always like pushed personal finance and if you're in personal finance for long enough, you hit real estate. Like you're gonna hit it. Our first house that is a rental now, like we house hacked it, and even before we were in real estate, just because.
Yeah. Eva Airbnb'd our living room at one point.
So, yeah,
Really?
yeah, for $25 a night.
I shook my head because I was like, this could stop. Yeah. Any way to make $1 at that point.
Yeah,
But
Very cool. So walk us through, the past 4 or 5 years and the amount of units that you bought. What does it take for somebody to do that?
creative financing.
yeah, I would say, a big one's creative finance. I think having a decent income, because stable living, I would say like the last couple of years has given me a lot of opportunity. It's doing super well now. So I think having money does help. I think being creative is kind of the piece that can make you exponentially grow. As well as I did sell a small portion of stable living to an investor at one point. So I did get some money from that too. So that kind of helped. But at creative finance, that's the biggest thing, which I don't know if you want to go into that.
Let's go into it. Yeah. Tell us about what, for those that don't know, what is creative finance?
For me, I guess it's just literally the seller being the bank, in some sort of fashion. There's different ways to do stuff like subject to and stuff, but that's not what I've done. I guess the biggest things that I've done is, land contracts, or notes with sellers, basically them just being the bank. So you can set up your terms and your down payment and all these things. So you get into property for low money down, or give yourself the ability to refinance quickly and get your money back. The biggest one, I'll be honest, is probably a second mortgage is the biggest one that I have been able to grow exponentially from, which is basically the seller carrying back some money at closing. So they have basically a note or a mortgage on the property at closing, so that the bank will allow you to come with less money down, which I will caveat with, debt is risk. So you got to be careful with that. But if you're getting, good off-market properties that are appraising super well, it's a good tool to press. But I would say those are the top two. I would say, burring as well, which I don't know if that's creative or not, but, sweat equity to be able to do some construction yourself and get into properties for lower down. So like those are the top three I would say we've done. To me, the second mortgage one is the one that opened my eyes, which was Logan Rakin that talked about it at his conference. And there's multiple closings. He was getting a check at closing. Yeah. And I know you've done that now. And it's like, you're actually getting rewarded for finding good deals. I just think people got to be careful that you're not buying a bad deal and doing this stuff, because you got to cash flow. Always you can get burned, but so yeah, that's the top three ways.
Just walk us through a basic example. Let's use $100,000 property as an example. What's a way that somebody could structure that $100,000 purchase?
Yeah, usually I do 3 different offers to basically all the sellers, unless I get a feeling like, don't put this offer in there because they're going to say no. But usually I do an high offer, or like what they want for it, as long as it makes sense, on a land contract, with low money down and lower interest rate, and give them their purchase price. Or 2, I'll offer a second option where it's bank financing. So they'll get, 75% of their money, let's say, up front. So they'll get a $75,000 check at closing, but then they'll sell or carry back 20%, 25% of the purchase price, usually at a decent interest rate. And I'll push that balloon out a ways so that if the market corrects or something, you're not, coming with money in 5 years. And then usually for that one, most banks will make you come with 5% down from what I've seen. Some banks, maybe not, but 5% down. And then the third offer is usually my cash or fully financed offer, which will have the lowest purchase price because I want to get into it for less because I have to come up with that 20% down. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a gazillion different ways that you can structure, and
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's just understanding what's the seller's motivation with it. Is it top dollar? Is it quick and painless? Is it somewhere in the middle? I think at the end of the day, it's understanding what the seller wants. But like you said, we talked about this beforehand. Unless you're making millions and millions of dollars a year, you can't grow fast by just putting 20% down on every single property in cash and getting 80% bank financing. You can do it for some of the burst stuff, and knowing that you're going to build value and get that money back eventually. But even that, you can only have so many going at one time, unless you are making a huge income and you want to scale. If, for somebody who wants to buy a duplex or two every year, put 20% down and buy something that you can add a little value to and keep over time. But if you do want to scale, if you don't make millions and millions of dollars, there has to be some sort of creative component or value add component to the deal.
Yeah.
So that for me, obviously, all that makes sense. Hopefully, that was a basic example that makes sense for other people. And it's one thing to know how to structure those deals, but how the heck do you find that many deals? Like, how do you find you can structure them, but you got to have the seller that's willing to do that. So how do you find them?
Yeah. So
I'm willing to share your secrets.
Oh gosh. No, I mean, to be honest, I could give you a whole sheet on it, but for a while at the beginning, me and Sean, for the most part, we'd had a piece of paper like this. We'd write down any creative idea on how to find a deal. And every single week we'd try to come up with like one more different idea to try them. But I think I can just list off some, but like mailers is a big one. I know you started doing that now. Yep. So I'd like to hear like, how's that going? But just sending letters basically to different lists that you can pull on PropStream, Fresh Pick Leads, like different list sources. So just sending them a letter, hey, are you interested in selling your property at 123 Main Street? I'm Ryan Gray. I'm from Eau Claire and I own some rentals in Eau Claire and I'm looking to expand. So that's a big one that we've done. I've done, I have a virtual assistant now that sends text messages to a bunch of owners in Eau Claire and says, hey, I work with Ryan Gray, who's an investor in Eau Claire. I'm looking to buy more properties this year. If you're interested in, selling, here's his phone number. Bunch of different ways. I would say messaging for rent ads on Facebook is a big one. If you see like a for rent ad in the apartment building, the photos are terrible, they're sideways, and their rent's super low. Well, that's probably a landlord that's been doing this for a long time. So just sending them a message. Hey, I'm interested in buying your property. Those are some of the big ones. Lately, I would say the biggest successes I've had are actually from realtors, brokers, and just posting on Facebook, and then partnerships, to be honest, are the top four. I think the market's slowing down a little bit. I don't know what you guys have seen. I mean, a little bit. And a lot of those like really distressed properties now, like the realtors are calling me like, hey, like I know about this property. Do you want to come check it out? Which that wasn't happening 2 years ago. Realtors were not calling me because they knew if they listed it and it was gone. And then I promise any realtor that I'll list 2 properties with them. So if they bring me a property, I close on it, I'll list 2 with you.
Okay.
Which to me is a huge offer because, they got me then. They're going to get more money from this transaction than if they don't sell to me. So those are some of the ways, but I think there's a million different, bandit signs. I've thought about just wearing t-shirts all day long. Like, talk to me about real estate. Don't even need to be buy your house. Just talk to me about real estate, But
one thing I've seen over the years is just like the repetition, no matter what you're doing, just being repetitive with it and being consistent.
Yeah.
All those streams will work.
Yeah.
It's just being continuous, because I know a lot of new people that will come into Whiskeria or different organizations that'll talk to us. They're like, yeah, I sent like 100 letters out and I didn't get any response. It's like, okay, well, did you send that same list 3 times, 3 months apart at least? Because there's some studies out there that say like people need to see things like 7 times before they're consider selling. So it's like the repetition in any of those I think is big, and you guys are very consistent with that.
I would say we're good at we just systemize it like, hey, we're going to send out this many letters every single month forever, even if, unless we weren't getting any phone calls, we might stop, but like we have a schedule almost to it. And I think a lot of investors, they're more cowboy-esque for the most part. And they're like, I'm going to do this because I want a property right now. They close on it and they're like, well, I don't have any money for another one, so I'm not going to continue to send letters. For me, I'll be out of money. and I'll continue to send those letters. And even if I get the leads, I'll be like, I'm going to wholesale them to Sean, or, well, this one was an amazing deal and I can land contract it and don't have to have any money down, where a lot of people stop marketing, I think. But yeah.
I think too, just your track record in what you're doing helps too. So there's been some repeat sellers that we bought from. So knowing that you can close on something and have the process go pretty seamless,
I send a letter.
People like that. And so like following up with prior sellers has helped us too.
Call them every year, and then I'll send them a letter with like a gift card every single year. Like, hey, thank you for selling me your property. If you know anybody else, let me know. Even if they don't own anything, still send the letter, because you build that relationship for life if you buy a big property from somebody. So,
how many of those deals were on market?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah. A couple. Maybe our personal house. Well, no, that wasn't either. Yeah, 1 or 2. The first house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that is. And when we first met, I'm the complete opposite. I'm shifting this direction now. But like starting out is like MLS, MLS wholesalers, which I'd consider kind of on market, but they're getting advertised to other people, right? But I've always said I'm very good at identifying an opportunity and taking action. I have not been good at finding off markets until recently after we talked. And
how's the letters doing now?
I'm gonna be honest, they fell off for a couple months. So we started we did it for 3-4 months straight, and I'm actually closing a deal next month as a result of the letter that was sent like a year ago.
That's how it happens too. You'll get a call. You sent me a letter a year ago. It's been on my fridge for a year.
We had the conversation right after I sent the letter, and then we've been staying in touch for the past year, and we're finally closing on a deal, and hopefully there is an opportunity for more deals with him as well too. So definitely seeing fruit from it. We are literally on the schedule to send out letters next week too. So we've redid that process. Part of it was I had somebody that was helping me with it, and then he left, and it just kind of fell behind. But that is, and I'm at the part now too. It's like I have a bunch of deals in the hopper right now where it would need to be something creative finance or a slam dunk or something where it's like my motivation to send them isn't quite there as when you got nothing. Yeah. Then you want to send them out, but it's no different than being a realtor. It's like, that's why realtors go like this. Their volume goes like this, is they'll be super busy and then they won't do any lead gen. And then they'll be sitting there doing nothing. They'll go do a bunch of lead gen and then close a bunch of deals. And it's just, you ride this wave versus consistency. And anybody that we've had on this podcast that has achieved a level of success, that is the story. That is the constant is doing simple things for a long enough period of time.
Yep.
And they have to be the right things. You can't be doing dumb things, but if you're doing the right things that are simple, that they're not extravagant strategies like sending letters. Your letter is not it's not a perfect colored envelope and perfectly written, and like it's hey, my name's Ryan, I'm looking to buy some properties, are you interested in selling? And that's the essence of what I'm doing. It's like this, if you were a seller, how would you want to receive something? If it's a cheesy postcard mailer, it's going right in the garbage.
I agree.
So yeah, that's incredible that you guys are doing that. And just so let's talk about property management now a little bit. So 550 units in that period of time. Property management's a very like systems, processes type business. And there's a lot going on. It's a simple business, but there are a lot of details. There's a lot going on. So how have you guys been able to manage the growth with your management business?
We're getting better at it. I'd say that it definitely, the phrase cowboy has come up a lot in this conversation. There's definitely some cowboy.
I like that. I'm going to start using
So I guess I'll frame it from the tax perspective because that's how I like keep track of how many units counts we have. So I came full-time entrepreneur in 2022. At that point in time, we had 16 units. So first tax season being full-time, I had 16 units to manage, and we framed it as like, okay, like if the tax business doesn't take off super quick, I'll help manage this. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. We had some other units, but they were managed by others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like self-managing. Yeah.
50 maybe.
So, by that June, we had acquired a 40 unit, which brought us to 100 units.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
About 100 units. So I brought on someone full time to help, half in the PM business, half in the tax business. And at that time, got pregnant with our second kid. And the next tax season, we were at about 116 units. It's always been like, I think we hit our cap, and then we're like, okay, time to bring someone on. We do what you're not supposed to do, and we don't slow down enough to make the systems. But I think in our head, we're good with knowing like what the top priorities are, so we know how to do those tasks well, even if it's not necessarily in like a handbook. I think the real turning point though was in September of 2023. We hired our first lead property manager, and that's when I think we've really turned just from like self-managing to having a management company, even though it's our internal property management company, because that way we had a leader within that business, and we could step out of doing more of the day-to-day stuff and work on building that. And now we're at 4 office staff for the PM business and 3 full-time maintenance guys and a VA. So I think it's really just keeping a pulse on how like the revenue's coming in for the fees to make sure you can afford the staff you want, and how to best distribute out tasks, because it's great to have all the processes and everything beautiful, but there's still that like bottom line that you need to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So
why did you guys decide to do it in-house versus just hiring it out?
we have different stories on this.
Okay. Gosh. I didn't think third party was really an option. Like I had 5-ish units ran by somebody, and like the numbers were all over the place. I seen vacant units online all the time, and it was 5 units. And I'm like, if this is how it is, how do you grow and hit the numbers that you're putting on your spreadsheet when you're like underwriting?
Yeah.
And then like you're just not hitting them like even close, I would say. It's like bad experiences. I would say I've watched a lot of people third party, and I'm like, how are you empty when I'm getting 64 messages on 2 apartments? Like I just don't understand. So I don't really know otherwise why, but I think we always wanted to manage them in-house somewhat, but didn't want it to be us, which I don't think is an option. I think you kind of have to do what you are doing, just put your bootstraps on and learn it. Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like we've came a long ways with property management too. Like it is not where like, Logan Rakin is at, or it's not great, I would say, but like we are constantly improving. We're constantly adding SOPs. We're constantly, bettering parts of the company at like all times. Like right now, our biggest thing is image and brand. Like we want to get our photos up to a higher standard. We just bought a really nice camera. So like we're doing some more branding stuff where we were more in the trenches of like, we want a 10-day turnover like max. Like I don't want a unit to come vacant, even if we got to do flooring, paint, trim, cabinets. Like I want that done in 10 days.
Yeah.
Like that was my priority. And now it's getting to more like in the weeds of like branding, photos, where a lot of people might do it backwards and sit open units for a long time. But, I would say we've learned a lot from Logan when it comes to property management and just watching like him and going to that boot camp and stuff. But to me, it's probably one of the tougher businesses because, I don't know. There's just so many different departments, I would say, is a big thing, which you don't really think about because it's like that specialization or generalist thing. It's hard to master everything, even if it's a simple process to have A plus quality, like how do you do that over 20 different things,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were talking about before, like property management, when you boil it down, it is a simple business. You have one type of customer, you have a tenant, and your job is to keep your units filled, keep tenants paying, and take care of maintenance quickly.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it boils down to that, but there's a lot that goes into when you buy a property, getting it into your system and getting all the tenants onboarded and getting them paying. And if there's tenants on assistance programs, working with the programs, and like there's just a lot that go. And then you get somebody who's behind and working together with them to get back caught up. And so it's a simple business, but there also is a lot of different moving pieces to it. And it's not it certainly isn't a big moneymaker. Like, I would never do it to go do it for other people.
Never.
Because
Yeah.
I'm looking at it as like, the people I need is, number one, not even enough people, and I'm breaking even at what I'm charging.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's not, to make money on it, you either got to be the jack of all trades and do everything yourself and be running all over the place, and you're just not enough room to be able to hire people unless you're managing thousands of units.
Yeah.
At that point, maybe it makes sense, but if you're managing a couple hundred units, it's tough to make money, and it's tough to hire the people that you need to support the amount of work that's there.
Yep.
So, that's great. Let's see what else. Keegan, you got anything? You've been a little quiet over there.
Yeah, I'm still here. Hey, I'm over here. Well, I was just going to ask you, because you talked about, yeah, look at that mic. Isn't that cool? This will be on, I'll leave this on the episode. So you'd mentioned like going to like Logan Rankin's thing. You talked about RIA and stuff. How important has like conferences and continuing to like self-develop in the real estate sphere been for you guys?
I would say personally, I love them. I think a lot of them are a waste of time for the most part, but I would say once in a while you'll go to them, like Logan Rankin's, and I walked out and I was like, wow, like I have a lot to learn. He was very much in the weeds, where most conferences, it's motivation, it's a lot of that stuff. And to be honest, if you are doing what we're doing, you don't need motivation because you have that. It's more the weeds. I wish somebody would start a mastermind and just focus on the weeds, to be honest, and I would show up to every single one. But I would say that one is a big one. The Whiskeria, to me, that's networking more. I mean, there's some weed stuff there, but knowing the best insurance agent in Eau Claire, knowing contractors in Eau Claire, like having connections is like huge. And I don't know where else you're going to get that besides the RIA in Eau Claire. Like, you're going to meet people as you go, but the RIA is going to give it to you immediately. Then we also have a mastermind that we do yearly, I would say, with other people. But other conferences, to be honest, I've been pretty disappointed. I would say knowledge-wise, I'm a big YouTube guy. Not as much books, but YouTube, just watching, landlords and like processes and learning about what they're doing and stuff. So, yeah.
I'm going to disagree with him. I personally really enjoy going to conferences, and
You guys are perfect to go together, though,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Because sometimes it's very hard for me to mentally like remove myself from day-to-day things. So like having a conference, I feel like we have, not even that it's the speakers that are going, but just like with the people we decide to attend with, or just like each other, the conversations we have in like the off times, or it, even though like, yes, that motivational speaker didn't give me a lot of in the weeds stuff, it made us think of like, oh, I think this process is how we can make it better. But the day-to-day mental bog down isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're valuable, even if the actual event itself doesn't have a lot of like nuggets, let's call it. And also, as a tax person who loves to travel, I love when people go to conferences. So yeah.
I would say a lot of people too, like at those conferences, they're like looking at the business from like an overview, and a lot of people are in the weeds all day. Yep. So I think that's something good. Like, go to a conference, think about your business from an overview or like an owner level versus like a position in the business. I think that's good. I mean, those conferences for that.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome. So why, for you guys, being as transparent and open with your like success and your story and how you do things, why do you both choose to be so transparent with entrepreneurs and real estate investors, when not everybody is like, well, man, I figured out this thing that's working.
Yeah.
Well, now, right? I feel like tendency is like, well, I'm going to hoard that. I got this new little secret nugget nobody's allowed to know. But you both are very transparent and open, and you want to see others do well.
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like by doing that, it comes back full circle like so often. I have people that send me deals all the time, and it's with strategies that I probably told them to try, and then they give me opportunity. But I think, I mean, so at some point, money is not everything, right? And like pouring back into people is actually like really fun. Actually, I think I don't really ever want to be a coach, but I mean, that's how we learned our stuff. Probably is somebody told you to do it, and this is how, and you tried it out. So I think pouring back into people, super fun. I also do a lot of different partnerships. So we do the 715 Homebuyers. If somebody actually like brings us a house that needs to be flipped and it's at a good price, we'll buy it, we'll pay for it, we'll teach them how to flip a house, run them through the whole deal, and then we'll split the profits at the end. So like, I wouldn't have had that deal without them, and all I got to do is figure out the system on how to make the money from the house. But to me, the hardest part transactional real estate is getting a lead and getting a deal. Property management and multifamily, I wouldn't do that with, but like flipping a house, I would do that with anybody probably. So
talk more about that, because I think that's kind of crazy. Like,
yeah,
I'm kind of anti-partnership. I'm not really interested in partnering with people, and you're partner with anybody that brings me a deal for 50%, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been burned once or twice with that, I would say, but I mean, not with the flipping side. Like, to me, transactional, and most of these people that bring me a property are probably not ready to do it themselves. So, like, I'm kind of in control of what's happening. I'm paying for it. Like, they might, I mean, we've done deals before where they're not even on the deed. Like, they're going to send me an invoice at the end, and I'm just going to pay it. But I'm going to show them how we do everything, how we track expenses. They might not be on the mortgage or on the deed.
Yeah.
But to me, that like alleviates risk. But most of the people that end up doing that with me, they've been going to Whiskeria for 2 years. I've met them. I've talked to them. They've talked to me about their kids. Like, I'm less nervous, but it's
take out that standpoint. Say they're even the right person.
Yeah.
50% of your profit for you doing all the work is a ton of money. I mean, when you could pay somebody a referral fee of $2,500 or $3,000 or $5,000, you know what I mean? Are they gonna Are you going to not get the deal if you pay them a $3,000 referral fee versus cut them in on half of a $40,000 profit or whatever it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's got to be a good deal for us to do that. Like, if it's just like a tight flip and there's chance of even downside, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But the people that we're doing that with is not somebody that's like on Facebook and probably just messages me and I've never met them before. Like, that's probably not going to happen. It's going to be somebody that goes to Whiskeria. They're investing already, or at least I can tell that they've been saving money, and like, I'm going to pick somebody that if I don't do it with them, they're probably not going to send it to me. That's the people I'm doing it with. But I mean, partnerships wise, I have how many partnerships? 9, 8?
If you're not counting the real estate ones.
Yeah, we have a bunch of partnerships. And to be honest, I wish now looking back on it, I would have I have 400 units and not 600, and probably not had so many 50-50 partnerships. But at the time, like, they'd bring me deals where it's like, okay, like, with what I know, we're going to do this for nothing down, and there's $500,000 in equity in this deal, and what's the downside? Well, the downside is I have to manage it. So, but we do charge for management. But I would say, looking back on it, I probably would have skipped some of the more multifamily partnerships. But the transactional ones, to be honest, I've never felt bad about them.
I think the other thing too with the partnering on the transactional type deals is usually the people that bring the deals to you, they're also like very willing and okay with how we run things. They're not really trying to be in the weeds with us. And because if they did want to be in the weeds, they would have just done it themselves. So it's not like there's 20, 100 deals where people have come to do the transactional. It's just a handful. So it's not as many as you'd think it would be. So usually the people that do it aren't going to go do it themselves.
That's a big thing. Like the multifamily and the transactional too. It's like either we're going to do it how we do it or we're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, just because, we're learning a process and how to do things. And if they're willing to jump on board, like, we'll do it. But if they want to, do a bunch of different things or get involved, like, I'm okay with that. But like, we're not, cutting corners on a flip. We're not, running our multifamily a different way than we run them. If we need to do a turnover, we're going to do a turnover how we do turnovers. Because I'm not training 10 maintenance guys on how to do 3 different style turnovers for different owners. Like, this is how we do it. If the floors are bad, we're replacing the floors. And they need to be able to put money into a joint account that we can run the deal out of. So, yeah, I mean, I still think it's probably going to burn me at some point.
Yeah.
But I would say, I think if you set it up the right way, it's not a bad thing. The only thing I would have wished is I have a couple of partnerships where we have like 10 units or 15 units. And those are the ones I wish I would have skipped. And then I have some partnerships that have 100 units plus, which like Cody, who runs my assisted living, we own some stuff together. Brandon, who owns 715 Homebuyers, we own some stuff together. Like, those ones go great because like we're both putting in 100% effort. Like, there's never a question of effort. The other ones, like, I'm okay with the passive ones, but at the same time, like, I don't want to own 10 units with somebody.
Yeah.
I'd rather you own 5 and I own 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
when those deals come to you, are you, I mean, I know you're evaluating both, but like, how much of the weight goes on the deal itself versus the partner? If it's a really good deal, but the partner's average, are you doing the deal? Or
that's a tough one. You're like, weighing it out. I mean, I would say I care more about the deal, but now if I was like going to do a new partnership, like let's say with you even, I'd want it to be big. Yeah. I'd want it to be big, like at least 40, 50 units. Cause to me, it's not worth the stress anymore of what that deal is going to shoot off. Now, if it was like, here's a 40 unit in Eau Claire for $1 million, I'd be like, okay, we're going to do the deal together. Like I'm all in. But I would say like, if I ever thought the partner was unethical at this point or like didn't have the same goals in mind, I would 100% back out now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Eva, how the heck do you manage all that from a tax standpoint of how many different partnerships and
Not as good as Ryan was.
Yeah, that's true.
No, just really just trying to keep. I just think of it all as different businesses because truly, like I have other clients that they have one of these, so it's like I just treat it business by business, keep it in order. We've gotten better in terms of like keeping up with our statements. So that way tax time isn't as bad. I think this year is like probably the best year so far for taxes, but really just making time for it. We actually within Graham Tax let go about 2/3 of our clients this past year because of needing more time to dedicate to it and just fully utilizing our systems to try to make it more streamlined. There's still a lot of time within it, but yeah, it's just making time to have the systems in place.
Let's talk about flipping a little bit. 7-1 Homebuyers. That's kind of a newer. I mean, I think we're doing flips, but this is more of like a formal business. For flipping. So how did that come about, and what are some things you're doing with that?
Yeah, so we started off wholesaling, I would say, a couple of years ago, and then we started flipping like a property every 3 to 6 months, like not a lot. And then lately, I would say like the last 2 years, we just have seen like a ton more properties come to our table, and we're like, okay, I can't do everything I'm doing now and still do these. So basically we just treat it like any business and just started hiring people, creating systems for it. We hired Luke Dowd, who's our project manager now. So he basically, from signing the contract, he's handling basically the entire thing. And then we have 3 guys internally now that just do construction 24/7. And to be honest, I'm going to be very interested to see how it goes this next 2 years. I think the only thing I don't like about 715 Homebuyers is like, you're very reliant on the market. Like to me, apartments, there's risk, but if you're getting your rent in, you're making your loan payment. But when you have 10 flips go on, which we do, a 20% correction can be kind of scary, So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But I think I'm excited to where it goes because we're getting like so many leads right now. And for the most part on the market, they're selling. So that's exciting. But I don't know. What are you seeing on the market when it comes to like listings,
Yeah, I mean, anything that I flip is in that entry level first time home buyer price point. So I won't flip a $400,000 or $500,000 house. So it's got to be the entry level price point. It can't be a complete down to the studs gut job. So I require more profit than other people. I mean, I lose out on plenty of deals that other people buy because they're willing to make less on it.
What's your minimum? Like you want
40.
Yep.
Yeah. So it doesn't.
40 million.
I won't do a deal unless I can make 40,000 on a flip. If it's a bigger project, 6 months or more, I want to make 60. But I really don't want to do the bigger deals. I like the turn and burns in and out in a month or less, floors, paint, new cabinets, bathroom, fixtures, outlets, landscaping, basic stuff. Those have been selling just fine. Definitely slower than, say, 2 years ago, 3 years ago when you were getting multiple offers, 30, 40,000 over ask. That's not happening. And some of them you're really surprised on. Like I'm done guessing. Like, oh, this one's gonna fly off the market. Like, Becca and I talk about it. I tell her that, and she's like, well, now it's not going to because you said that. And sure enough, it's usually how it works. The ones that you think like this is a cute little house, somebody's gonna love this. It sits for a month, and then the other ones where you're like, somebody paid that for this house? Like I had a dinky little 2-bed that I'm like, I don't know about this one. It's like 4 offers, sold 30,000 over ask, and then I just had another one that's closing tomorrow actually. It's a great house, and I'm like, man, this thing is gonna fly, and it sat for a month. So, but it's nothing is. I'm never worried in that price point, and when I have a bigger required profit, I got plenty of room, and I'm fine. And I'm not doing 10 at once. When I'm busy,
Yeah.
we're doing 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah. I would say we're pretty similar. We want minimum of, I would say, 30,000.
Okay.
I would say the minimum, but that's got to be a turn and burn too. And then the bigger ones, we want to make more. Just from doing so many, I think the biggest things that we've noticed is like the holding costs when you have so many is so much larger. And like we do put that into our spreadsheet, but like we started getting clogged. We have too many going on. So then, that was a big one. And then like now compared to 2 years ago, the inspections are like, if you don't fix everything, like you're probably not closing that deal for the most part, unless it's super desirable.
Do you guys do a pre-listing inspection?
Yeah. And a lot of times, I don't know what your experience is, but they'll order their own inspection as well, like 99% of the time. So we haven't been burned anything. I would say, I think we have 5 houses or 4 houses that are under contract, and then one that's sitting, but that one's rural. So I think that's another thing is we do a lot of rural stuff, but that stuff is at a low enough price point where if it turns into a rental,
It's not the end of the world.
that's not the end of the world. And to be honest, I think 715 Homebuyers, the goal wasn't to just flip. It was more to have the capability to burr as much as possible because, I mean, if you look at Logan, like every single building he's doing is turning everything. And to me, the flips are supposed to be more like filler work, but now it's turning into more work. But
yeah. Where's I going with the flips? Yeah.
I know we talked
totally lost the train of thought.
We talked about this out there, but I would say a big thing for us is like banking. I don't know we were talking about that, but
that was so that's not it, but that made me think of what it was. You were talking about holding costs, and when people are underwriting deals, like I said, I've lost out on plenty of deals where guys are paying more than I am. I think a lot of inexperienced people, if anybody's interested in flipping a house, people don't factor in that stuff.
No.
Like, especially if you're buying a wholesale deal, you're generally paying both the buyer and seller closing costs. So you've got double closing costs on the front end. Your holding costs with interest rates, taxes, insurance, utilities, all of that is going to be $1,000 to $1,500 a month for an average house. Mm-hmm. For a 6-month deal, that's another $5,000 to $8,000. And then your selling costs and also factoring in if you don't get what you think, price drops. I had one deal. I've never lost money on a flip, but I made $2,000 on one flip. And it's because we had the price drop $10,000 and then the inspection came and another $5,000. It's like that stuff, you don't underwrite for that stuff. You underwrite for what you think you can get. So I think people need to be a little bit more conservative in, I know I've learned from that. It's just not worth my time unless there's plenty of room for error. And but the holding cost part, the buying cost, the holding costs, and the selling cost make up a huge part of a flip that I don't think enough people underwrite for.
And the time cost too, like how much time are you not being a realtor? How much time are you not improving your PM business or finding another lead? Like that's a big thing I think that I struggle with is I'll get into these flips and it's like, they make good money, but it's like, stable living is like, I mean, probably my best use of time is going to like help them and provide higher quality or growing that, or the property management too. Like if we can save 2% on our expenses this year, well, 2% over a $400,000 rent roll, per month, that's way bigger than a $30,000 flip. And that's something I struggle with, but flipping's, I would say it's fun.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's fun, not swinging the hammer, but like finding a deal, making a deal happen, talking to the contractor.
Get that dopamine hit.
Yeah, it's exciting. That's the problem. That's the problem.
That's honestly how we got, how we grew so fast. Is Ryan just kept wanting the dopamine from position.
He bought 50 houses one year just for the dopamine rush. They
Yeah.
barely even made any money, but man, did they.
That's partially true. I mean,
Austin wants people to be conservative because he keeps getting outbid. So he's like, you guys got to build in more margin. He's going to undercut it. And he's going to.
Dealer's making more money than the flipper.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. I'm always just like, we can figure this out. If we do this, we can make more money. And it's just like, no, like you probably can't. But.
So you talk about fun. Flipping houses is fun. I think I don't know. I think buying rentals is more fun personally.
I agree.
But I think people see it as something that's going to be fun and a winter project where they watch HGTV and flip or flop or right. Like you get a lot of people that do watch HGTV that want to flip houses. Talk about the reality of flipping houses.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's not fun. And we're not design people. I would say, I mean, there's a lot of fun with flipping, but there's also a lot of problems. So like you run into stuff all the time that's, costs money that I mean, I don't really know how to answer that question. I think it's all exciting because we've done it so many times, but when it's your first one and you're expecting to make this money and you don't, like, that's not fun, you know? So, I mean, I would just be ready for it. I think, to be honest, flipping is a high capital game. Like, you need to be in a pretty good, strong position with your other business or have a lot of savings to be able to do it, because if you flip 10 houses, the chances are on the 11th, you're going to hit your numbers and you're going to do well. But on that first flip, there's a high probability you're making very little. I've seen a lot of people lose money on their first flip and then be like, I never want to do this again. I mean, so my suggestion is, I'm not saying necessarily partner with someone and give all your equity away, but maybe go pay for a course or go to Jason Lund, who's on the other side of the state, best wholesaler flipper I've ever probably met. Like, go to those meetings, meet these people, so that you're not having fun, while you're flipping.
Yeah.
I would say we enjoy I enjoy some of the chaos too. Like,
Oh, yeah, you do.
I mean, the group home side, like, we do deal with behavioral clients, correctional clients, and a lot of, people, big problems. So, like, evicting people, dealing with, squatters, stuff like that. It's not that I enjoy it, but I'm not scared of it. Like, I'll go into it and be like, we just got to deal with this and become their friend and help them out and figure out where they need to go, so.
Yeah.
I don't mind the people side, but the construction, I would say I'd hand off a lot of that to people too.
Yeah.
So I like finding cheap contractors too.
Yeah.
I would say, like, not to get too off topic, but I think for someone who isn't trying to go super fast, like, doing a live-in flip is one of the smartest things people can do, because there's people, it wasn't our track with real estate, but like people who do like live-in flips, live in it for 2 years, sell
Tax-free.
Yeah.
Or house hacking.
And that's like a house hacking too, but like that's a great way to get your feet in the door. There's not, like, you're already going to be living there, so the holding cost isn't as big of a thing.
Yeah.
But you can have a lot of tax-free money in 2 years.
Yeah. Have you guys read Buy Back Your Time, the book?
I think I've started it. I don't think I've finished
Really
it yet.
good.
Yeah.
Really good book. But he talks about how a lot of entrepreneurs are addicted to chaos.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. 100%.
I mean, think about it, and it's true. And like,
Yeah.
he talks about how if you don't have chaos, like if things are going really good and smooth and everybody's doing what they're supposed to, like subconsciously entrepreneurs will create
Something.
chaos out of
That's
that.
real.
Like, and I think of that in real estate. There's some agents that I've worked with, and it's like everything's going really smooth, everybody's doing what they're supposed to, and then like wham, just trying to like hard negotiate on something, or just trying to make a mountain out of a molehill on something, but they thrive off of that chaos. They got to have something going on to. So I thought that when you said that, that made me think of that. But
Yeah.
in regards to HGTV, I think people have it so backwards. It's literally nothing like that. You are in the weeds. It's dirty. The design part of it is, and maybe it's such a tiny thing, and I could care less about that. We have a pretty basic package that we do, and I'm sure you guys are similar. But people who would watch that and like think they want to design this big, beautiful house, it's more of a dirty, in the weeds type
100%.
type deal than having contractors take out walls and make an open concept kitchen. So,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the power of cost segregation of real estate and being a real estate professional. So for those that don't know, can you explain that?
Yes. So in the eyes of the IRS, there's something called a real estate professional. You have to spend at least 750 hours a year doing real estate related activities, and you have to do it more than anything else you do. So if you have a full-time job working 2,000 hours a year, but you say you spend 2,200 hours a year doing real estate, technically you could, but it's very hard to say it. So you usually have to be, let's say, a real estate agent, run a property management company, be a acquisition or flipper. So with that, if you do get that designation, you get to, if you purchase a new piece of real estate, you get to use something called bonus depreciation. Basically, if you buy $1 million building, you can write off 20% of the building in the first year. With the current tax laws, it is sunsetting out. So
Hopefully not much longer.
hopefully something will come and change that. But it's a very powerful thing because you can bring some of your write-offs. Most buildings get spread out over 27 and a half years, so that $1 million be spread out over 27 and a half years. If you're a real estate professional and get a cost segregation study done, 20% of that gets front-loaded, so $200,000 into the first year, or with how it's sunsetting right now, you would get $80,000 of that as a write-off in the first year, and you get to offset your other income that you've created.
Yeah, I think that's the. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say too, the cool thing about it is, so like if Eva was a real estate professional, and you cost tagged a property, and let's say I was a dentist, you can actually use that write off on the dentist's income, which has been super cool for me because like stable living, we're doing pretty good now. We make a good income, but all these properties that we're cost tagging, I can write off all my federal income tax for stable living as long as I buy enough properties. So like for like the last 2 or 3 years, I paid $0 in federal tax, which is a large sum of money now due to the other businesses that are active. And same thing with like flips. If you're flipping and then you buy a multifamily, you can write off all your flipping income from your multifamily, which to me is super powerful, so.
And then you take that money that you would have paid in tax, that's cash in the bank if you're saving for it, and you take that and apply that towards future acquisitions the next year.
Yep.
So you're literally getting paid to build your wealth and to buy more properties and to pay zero tax. So the people that are mad about Trump not paying tax, I mean, this is how he does it. That is how the big real estate guys do it, and it's perfectly legal. So yeah, for anybody that's married, having a spouse that is that one of the spouses is a real estate professional can be huge tax savings for your active income as a couple. So I started dabbling in that. Last year was the first time that we did cost segregation, and same thing. And this year we'll pay nothing in federal income tax.
And one other caveat to that too is, as a married filing jointly couple, like he's a real estate professional in our dynamic, but all my time counts towards that 750 hours too, which is nice. So if there's someone who, let's say, works 10 hours a week at a W-2 and spends 12 hours a week doing real estate, and then the spouse spends 10 hours a week doing real estate as well, they can make up to that 750 hours, which is nice. Whereas a single person, you have to hit that 750 alone.
Sure.
So
yeah. Well, with everything you guys got going on, I'm sure
There's
you're hitting this.
Yeah.
Let's end with this. So you guys are doing all this. You got a lot going on. You're growing like crazy. You got 100 some employees with stable living. You got 600 some units. Why? What's the why behind this?
I would say that neither of us wanted to be told what to do. Wanted some freedom with our schedules. I mean, that was the big push for me to go entrepreneur, was just more time freedom. He had been an entrepreneur for 5 years at that point, and we love to travel. We were going to have family. So really just like the freedom to make our schedule, even if we fill it with chaos.
Yeah, I would say originally it was just to work for myself, I would say, and be able to kind of do what I want to do on my time. I would say now I actually enjoy going to work. I love the people I work with. I would say like some of my team members are my best friends, and we actually, like a lot of my best friends now are entrepreneurs that are like connected to us in business, and we're doing stuff together. So I think that's super fun. I would say too, like with how much we're going on, a lot of people would think like we're working till 8 p.m. a lot of nights, and I would say we're not anymore. Like we're done by 4:30, 5 o'clock. We're able to go on vacation. We have people that are kind of, backup to us now, and like it's enjoyable when we are actually at work. Like there are problems and, days where I'm like, why are we doing this? But to me, if you're going to be at work, like you might as well give it your all. You're there, like you're not leaving. So like give it everything you got and grow it as big as you can and do the best you can, because you're there. Like it's happening no matter what. So yeah.
Well, thank you guys for your time. Like I said, very inspiring for me personally, and I'm sure our listeners feel the same way. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you.
And if they want to find out more about you guys or rent an apartment, or they got a deal in the Eau Claire area, where can they find you?
50/50. Yeah, no, apartmentgrahamproperties.com. That's where availability is. And then we do Facebook, we do Instagram.
He's
Facebook.
more the face or Instagram guy.
Yeah, just Ryan Gray. And then I think my
REI.
Yeah, my Instagram is Ryan_REI_Gray. So that's where I post closings, and if I try to do some social media stuff, throw it on there. But that's something I want to push. So I'll talk to you maybe about that stuff, podcasts and stuff. But
yeah.
We'll be collaborating on stuff.
Yeah.
You get a free invitation that goes on your page, so you're good to go.
Perfect.
At that point.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the Pay It Forward podcast. If you want to find out more about how you can support the podcast or become a sponsor, please click the link below or visit our website, payitforwardpodcast.com. Again, thank you so much for your support, and we hope that you can find a way this week to pay it forward.